Hi, welcome to the Pursuit of Truth. It's still the 17th of October 2018. A few things. First, just a bit more on the Norway attack on the 22nd of July 2011 by Anders Breivik. I did actually find a picture where, when he was in court, he did have a sort of bit of a thin beard, but it was underneath his like neck, whereas in the film it's very visible. You know, it's on the front. So yeah, I just wanted to correct that. But when he was doing the shooting, he had no beard. So in the film, they don't do that correctly. So I'm just wondering whether that is done on purpose. Even the way I don't know whether the actor is a Islamic-born actor or whether he's Norwegian. I think they're all Norwegian, but that doesn't mean he's not a Muslim. But it just does look very Islamic-looking. So I think they purposely did that to co-opt on that fear. Well, there was other few bits I missed actually from the Ollie Damagard video. There was one bit where there's a woman. She's got shrapnel or a piece of metal in her head or something, and there's he's suggesting that she's a crisis actor because the guy he faffs around for a long time and eventually takes her to a bus, because they had a bus to take people. And he puts her on a bus. I mean, there's no way, surely. I mean, you'd have to be really inept to not put her in an ambulance. Well, actually, she shouldn't even be moving around. She gets up and walks to the bus with him with a piece of metal in her head. I mean, no one ever seen a car accident, how they keep you in a neck brace and they keep you still and they lie you on the floor, they bring a stretcher to you, they carefully move you onto the stretcher, and then they take you into a on a flat surface in an ambulance, not in a bumpy bus going normal speed. So that does lend to the people that suggest that there are crisis actors that take part in these things, and I can see a part of that because, I believe that these things do happen, but they're just allowed to happen, and they do have elements involved in them. I don't know why they would, but the only problem is you could say, why would you have this person who, if you were going to have a crisis actor, wouldn't you make sure that that it's done properly, that they're taken in an ambulance, It's a bit like there's another, I don't know if I'm not sure which event it is, where you see a man being taken by, is it two policemen, and they're holding him up, and then the minute is sort of slightly out of shot, he starts walking on his own. But I don't know why you would have, but it just doesn't make sense why someone who's medically trained wouldn't put a person with a piece of metal in their head on a bus that's there for victims. Or, this was, I think, outside the President's building. And there was another documentary that I was watching that was suggesting that there were two shooters, which is a possibility because Breivik was dressed as a policeman. Obviously, I think he had a visor as well, so you could have two very similar people. Although there was a report on that program that suggested that a person said they described a black-haired man, which obviously wouldn't be Breivik because he was blonde. But then again, I'm thinking, if the government allowed this to happen, why would you need two men? He was given 90-odd minutes to kill people. He killed 60-odd people, He was given ample amount of time to murder people without the police getting there. And the other thing is that the media actually got there before the police. I mean, is that inept? I mean, that if it was an actual real event, that's really bad that the media could get there before the police, because there's a shot of showing Breivik assassinating someone on a beach on the shore of the island, and the man, it looks like he's on his knees begging. So how the media got there so easily, that they're more trained than the Delta Force, and the police. Yeah, so there's a lot of, I suppose with these things, there's a lot of question marks. The thing is, also, I forgot to mention, obviously, I was not there, and this is one thing I've learned about Flat Earth, that a lot of the times we as humans, we say things about things that we have no idea about. And, you know, sometimes we say it with certainty, as if, you know, I cannot with any certainty say anything about that event. You know, it could have been a real event in the sense that, you know, there was no government involvement. It was a real terrorist, a real man that sat and that these people died, and etc. And there are people who could be, you know, I'm sure they're not listening to this, but if they were listening to this, you know, there could be family members who would be absolutely horrified to hear my suggestion of this involvement of the government, and obviously the government wouldn't be happy with it either, to hear that they could be involved. And there was some suggestion that the EDL, and somehow there was a British element to Breivik, that he visited or he talked with people from him. I mean, I haven't heard that anywhere else. But the thing is I guess as humans we like to speculate on things. I mean, we do love speculating on stuff. If we actually only talked about the stuff we actually physically knew ourselves, we would not be able to have a very long conversation about anything, isn't it? That's truly the thing. So yes, I am guilty of that. I know everyone, you know, a lot of us are guilty of that in some sense, that where we talk about things that we know half-truths and we know bits about, and etc. You know, you could listen to my podcast and there'd be lots of bits in there that, you know, I am assuming, or I know a bit of it, you know. That's not to negate from it, you know, that doesn't mean I can't be right. A lot of people make suppositions and, you know, guess things, and they are right. But it's just, I just wanted to sort of cover that basis of things that, you know, I'm not saying I know what happened. I'm not saying that this actually happened or didn't happen or anything like that. These are just thoughts and ideas of possibilities that struck me when I see the Ollie Damagard, the other documentary I saw, and I think the other documentary is on YouTube. It was called the Andres Breivik Conspiracy. And they also showed the Photoshop photos of him. There was like photos with a white background. It looked like he'd been photoshopped out of it, which is very weird. The photos that they showed of him, you know, in like a suit thing. Yeah, and I don't know what the Knights Templar issue is. They were saying that he was doing it for the Knights Templar. I don't know if they're a real organisation or that is just some kind of King Arthurian legend. What was the other thing? The other thing they mentioned was the dossier that he gave out. He gave out a book of why he did it, with the red cross on the front, or was it a red cross or black cross? See, I'm not very factually good at this, am I really? But they said a lot of that was lifted from another source. And the other thing was the windows smashing out, you know, suggesting that there was a bomb inside. Which, yeah, you know, obviously, if you put a bomb outside, you would expect. I mean, I was thinking maybe it could be the vibrations that could send some windows outside rather than inside. You know, if the bomb went up with a gust of, you know, wind or whatever it was, of force, if it went up, it could, or it went in the building and out that way. But you wouldn't expect too much stuff to come outside. You would expect stuff to be blown inside, I would have thought, no? So they questioned that as well. Yeah. So that's enough of that. The other thing I wanted to talk about was, I mentioned it sort of a little bit in the, I think it was number 171 of these podcasts about housing and things, and the sophistry and the lies behind all of it that I'm finding out myself. You know, that we went to, you know, we're trying to rent a different house, a flat that with more bedrooms because of the twins, and, you know, the difficulty of that. And then we went to a building society and they suggested, yeah, we could give you a mortgage. You have to get like £20,000 deposit, as if, like, you know, that money just, you know, low-income earners have that kind of money. And then based on your salary and your benefits, which we will count because not everyone counts them as salary, even though it's money, You can get like a 200,000 mortgage, and of course. And then they showed my wife like, oh, these are. Yeah, there's loads of houses, 20,000. When we get home and we try on Zoopla and Rightmove and housing agents, letting agency in the area, we can't find any of these houses. So I don't know how he managed to find these houses. Maybe they weren't actually in the area. They were outside. Because you can set, isn't it? Like, you probably set it for like 100 miles or something, just to find the number to make it out that, yeah, you can get this mortgage and you can get this house, but we're finding it increasingly difficult to find any house. But it's just ironic. The ironic thing is that if we actually could find a house that was around the value that the mortgage would lend us, that the rent would be 700 or something. Although I think it might go up to 900 because that's another trick they play. They start off. I always thought that mortgage, the first it starts off high and then it goes down gradually, But this one it starts off low and then after a few years it goes up higher, and it worked out that you end up paying 100,000 extra for interest. Imagine how much money they're making, these banks, on bricks and mortar. They're exactly the same. And that's another thing to do with like valuation of properties. They're not true valuation. The property doesn't value; it values against other properties. Because say you got this shit property, it's 50,000 originally when it was built 10 years ago. Now that property is worth 150, and the one that was worth 150, that was a good one, that one has to go up now because the shit one's gone up. Because the buildings don't change, the bricks don't change, the inside doesn't change. Yeah, you can do a little bit of painting, a little bit of, put a few new things in there, but the building is essentially the same. How does it value? But that's just a way of getting more money from people, of creating money. It's just so fucked up. And the fact that I can rent and pay more money, yeah? I'm paying off another person's mortgage, but they won't give me a mortgage for the same value of the house. The value of the house that I am, say, renting, I don't know what it is, but let's say the value of the house is 250 or 300,000, yeah? That's the value of the house that I'm renting. Let's say that is the price. And I'm paying the rent of 1,000, yeah? Which is more than I would for the mortgage. So I'm effectively paying that man's mortgage, the actual owner of this property that I'm renting. But if I went to the bank, they wouldn't let me do it. They would say, no, you can't rent that because, why can't you rent that? Well, because you don't have enough capital to prove it. You don't have a job that has enough salary. But wait a minute, I'm actually renting the same fucking house already, yeah, for more money than the mortgage would be. And at the end of it, I don't own anything. Do you see how stupid that sounds when you actually look at that? But it's just because of the system. The system is created for those with wealth, those with, that are able to do this. It's the same like this, one of the folks, unfortunately, we put our details down on this website to do with the agencies, and you could put down extra notes. So we put down what we wanted, how much we had, and obviously they don't care about what we actually want. They just phone you to tell you that no, the houses are not that, they're 300,000. So the building society sort of misled us in a way, and I knew that, but I just fell in with it, thinking, well, if he's saying that, then maybe there is a chance that we could find a property on that, But they're not. They're all saying, no, they're 300, 350, you'll never get a house for that, blah, blah, blah. But I mean, the fact is, if they know how much we wanted and what we're looking for and they don't have it, why did they just not fucking phone, I don't want to be phoned to be schooled. And then they said, well, maybe you should check the government scheme. I'm assuming they're talking about shared ownership, which I'm sure I've mentioned this before. And it was actually on the Sky News or BBC News, I can't remember which. Probably both, actually, because they all cover the same things. But the thing I've been saying to my dad and my wife for ages, that it's all a lie. These shared ownership is helping middle-class people. I know they claim you've got to have less than 60k salary. But the houses that they have there, because you have to pay, isn't it? You have to pay shared ownership, so you pay part of it. So you have to pay, say, 45% is the part you pay, and then the rest of it you pay as rent to the government who own that part. So, therefore you're paying twice as much. But it's supposed to work out less. But the problem is, that's not the actual problem. That would be actually probably fine, because if you only pay 45%, then maybe that's like, you know, if you've got like a 300,000 or 200,000 property, well, 300,000, because there's no 200,000 ones, but if there was a 300,000 one, then, you know, you'd be paying half of what that is, so maybe like £400, and then you pay rent, which would be subsidised, you'd hope, from the government for their bit that they own, and eventually you end up owning it in like 500 years. But the problem is, when you go on these websites, which I've been on many of them, like the London one and the South East or South West or whatever ones there are, and all the properties are like 500,000, 600,000, 800,000, a million. For fuck's sake, how can any low-income person have that? Because you've got to have a deposit as well. I assume you've got to have a deposit, but even if you didn't have to have a deposit, if the property is worth 800,000, you're low income, you've got to earn under 60k. How are you going to be able to afford even that 45%? That 45% comes up to like 150, and then you've got to pay the rent side of it as well. It's just, do you know what I mean? If they're going to seriously help low-income people under 60k, why don't they have on their property the normal houses that the agencies are selling? Why don't they have like 200, 300,000k houses on their register? Why do they only have these really expensive ones? Probably because they're, you know, newly built or something, but, you know, we can't afford those. If we could afford that, we could get it out normally. So, you know, even the agencies don't realise that this trick that's being played, because really what it's helping is benefiting middle class people that maybe have 60. You know, no low income person's going to have 60k as their salary. I don't know what low income, I think, would be under 30 or 40, but 60k, I mean, I think you still struggle to purchase an 800k house. But the thing is your salary may be that, but you may have loads of money somewhere else. That's the thing, isn't it? You could be a doctor, 2 doctors, who probably could afford to buy their own property at 300,000 or whatever. Actually, these days probably not actually, but if they could, but maybe that's how they get the benefit. They got lots of money in the bank, and they can buy these 800,000k houses and then rent them out to the likes of me, who can't afford that house but can afford to pay the rent, even though it's exactly the same house, even though I'm paying more money than I would do if I was allowed to have a mortgage, and you didn't have to look at, you know, you didn't have to times my salary by 3 to get the number of the actual house. I mean, how fucking stupid is that? Because I can rent the same house and pay more and never own it. Who's that benefiting? It's not benefiting us all, is it? Anyway, I thought I'd get that off my chest. Who knows, maybe there's, you know, I mean, it's only like early days. We'll see what happens. I'll keep you updated, but I just wanted to show you this side of things that I'm seeing, and how, you know, it's just another part of the lies in plain sight, part of the, I'm not going to say broken system, because broken system sounds like it can be fixed. It can't be fixed. The system is like this on purpose. It is a way to keep the division between the rich and the poor, between the powerful and the so-called not powerful. It's the way to keep us in status quo. Is not a way of equality or love or the better way of doing things, where everyone should be able to have their own house, that where we shouldn't even need to pay money for, you know, to a house to actually live. Anyway, that's a completely different topic. I've waffled on for 19 minutes. Alright, I hope that was at least any beneficial. I suppose there might be some people who are in the same situation as me, or have been in the same situation. Maybe they can give me advice or help me out, or at least say, yeah, I see that this place we're living in is really unfair. I mean, obviously, like I've said before, in other countries, you know, is even worse than this. But though in some countries, you know, it might actually be better, because I don't know every country. That's me generalising again, isn't it? I must stop doing that. That's the problem. I've been taught all my life to be a certain way through schooling, through education, through peers and parents and television and etc. And it's difficult once you realise that we speak a lot of shit a lot of the time, and a lot of stuff that's inaccurate and divisive and all sorts of things, and fallacious, and to try and stop yourself from doing it. Well, if we all did that, it'd be a very silent planet, because we've taught ourselves this way, and unless we start teaching a new way, and then that generation overtakes us, and then eventually we stop all this nonsense. Take care, take it easy, God bless, and peace.